Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're moving through some more circuit judges. As you know, we'll confirm route for the Kavanaugh vacancy on the D.C. Circuit tomorrow. A word about our Democratic friends, both in the House and out on the campaign trail. It's interesting to watch Democratic candidates for president having a difficult time answering the question, are you a capitalist or not? My prediction, just for all of you, is that over a period of time, most Democratic candidates for president and most Democratic senators and congressmen will say they're capitalists. But I think the important thing to look at is not what they say, but what they're doing. And if you look at H.R. 1, which passed the House last week, a massive takeover of the American election system, including taxpayer funding of elections, partisan takeover of the Federal Election Commission, making it possible for ballot harvesting, which just rendered a congressional race in North Carolina moot. They're having a do-over, but which is legal in California. That's one example. Another example is the Green New Deal, which we've been talking about, and we'll talk about some more. And of course, another proposal on the way is Medicare for all, the result of which would be Medicare for none. So watch what they do, not what they ultimately say in answer to the questions, are you a capitalist?
The AFL-CIO, representing 12.5 million workers, 55 different unions, has slammed the Green New Deal. In a letter, they say that the Green New Deal makes promises that are not achievable or realistic. They went on to say, we will not accept proposals that could cause immediate harm to millions of our members and their families. Well, I hardly ever agree with the AFL-CIO, but I do on this letter and on their assessment of the Green New Deal. We have a strong and healthy and growing economy, and the Green New Deal would take it over the cliff in terms of massive spending, massive loss of jobs, and a massive increase in taxes. Even if it were to pass, it will not achieve what they want to achieve. Of all the global emissions, only 13% of them come from the United States. 33% of global emissions come from China and India combined. Republicans have offered solutions, and our solutions relate to innovation. Innovation with new advanced age nuclear power, innovations with capturing carbon and using it productively. Our goal is to make energy as clean as we can, as fast as we can, and doing it in ways that don't raise costs or hurt America's economy.
So I've already had some things to say about how the Green New Deal will not be good for my state of Indiana. Today I'd like to focus specifically about how the Green New Deal will not be good for Indiana's farmers. Roughly 107,000 Hoosiers depend on our farm economy for their employment, for their household income, bring in roughly $30 billion to the state of Indiana. And the co-sponsors and supporters of this initiative, the Green New Deal, have put forward ideas that would require the fundamental rethinking and reworking of long-standing and broadly adopted agricultural practices. So imagine if farmers throughout the state of Indiana had to replace their combines, their farm machinery, with electrical vehicles and technologies. Imagine if they had to tear down their farm buildings and other structures and rebuild them to the Green New Deal standards that are being put forward. This is not good for Indiana generally, certainly not good for Indiana farmers. The Green New Deal is unaffordable, it's unattainable, it is unreasonable, and I will continue to fight on behalf of all Hoosiers to ensure that it never becomes the law of the land. Thank you.
Yeah.
Should we interpret the vote on the national emergency, if it passes, as a rebuke of the president? And do you think that some of your Republican senators are trying to have it both ways? voting against the national emergency, but being for the wall?
Well, on the issue of the wall, I think everybody in my conference is in favor of the president's position on the wall and on border security. It is no secret that the use of the national emergency law has generated a good deal of discussion, and we'll continue having those discussions. But it'll all come to a head on Thursday. The clock runs, and the vote will occur on Thursday. Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi said that impeachment of President Trump is just not worth it. Do you agree?
I agree.
That's nice. You agree on something. That's great. Another issue where you might agree is potentially is paid family leave. Senators Lee and Ernst issued a new proposal today. There are now several Republican and Democratic proposals. What do you think of the Lee-Ernst approach, and how committed are you to holding a vote on this issue this year?
Well, it's a little early to talk about. I know Ivanka Trump has been pushing that for the last couple of years. There's been a lot of discussion about it, and we're going to take a look at it and see how many of my members want to go forward.
Do you like that approach?
On the National Emergencies Act, do you support the solution that Senator Lee is working on that would amend the National Emergencies Act itself?
Yeah, we're looking at some ways to revisit the law. There's a lot of discomfort with the law. Not that the president doesn't have the authority to do what he is doing. I think most of my members now believe this is not a constitutional issue in that sense, but rather is this grant of authority to any president, not just this one, any president, was it too broad back in the 70s when it was passed? So yeah, we're discussing altering that, but that would be prospectively. It wouldn't apply to the current situation.
Leader McConnell.
I may well, yeah.
Leader McConnell, what message are you trying to send to the president by inviting the NATO Secretary General to speak before a joint meeting of Congress?
Well, I'm not trying to send any message to the president, but the Speaker and I both think that NATO is the most important military alliance in the history of the world. Needs to be continued. That we need to continue to demonstrate support for it and to reassure our European allies, and that's why we've issued a joint invitation for this particular NATO leader to come address a joint session of Congress.
Maybe three.